Okay, welcome back. We're on page 918, talking about being disrespectful to the users. I fell in this trap. I use humor. Hopefully that came across as humor. But I would call them puny humans or pesky humans. Okay, that's probably not a good idea. Don't call them pests. Don't call them, losers. They suggest the customer, if you would talk about them, talking about customers. That's the preferred name you would call them. And for God's sake, don't call them stupid, even though they are. Because remember, you're there to solve the problem, not the IT problem, the problem. And if that means sitting down and showing this person for the 14th time how to select which printer is the color printer, then that's still your job. Okay? Just saying. If you have business partners, it could be kind of sort of the same scenario, like how troublesome are they? Yes, you should be able to teach them, if you could, teach them to be self-sufficient. Yes, your role as an IT person, a system administrator, is also the role of teacher. Yes, you're going to teach them how to connect to the color printer when they need to print the color. Yes, that's what you're going to do. So there's a cool thing talking about a shaded area story on page 919, where the guy in the cafeteria was, ranting and raving about, this stupid customer, they don't know what the hell they're doing. But then, of course, the customer was sitting right behind them. They ended up getting fired or transferred. That's not a good thing, right? So your perception, okay, their perception is based upon your attitude. If you're rough, gruff, then yeah. If you're being disrespectful, then you've lost the game. You're going to have to be nice to them. Assigning priorities with customers. This thing is weird. If they perceive what they're asking for is small, then they expect it to be done quickly. If they perceive what they're asking for is large, they're willing to wait a little bit longer. The problem is they may not know what is a large task and what is a small task. The analogy is, look, somebody's printing 400-page document on the printer, and all I need to do is just print this one document. Can I step inside the queue and print my one document and get it over with? That's the kind of thinking, okay? So, quick request. The best example of one of those quick and easy is a password reset. Perhaps you ought to have an automated system already up and play, right? Some sort of a self-service password reset function. That would be really great. Those things that do not take very long. And so you can organize your IT part into two sections. The rapid response team, ours was called Do It Now, DIN. Okay, that was the DIN team. The Do It Now team, that they're the ones that handle those short, sweet, okay, I need a password reset thing. And then the other part of the team is okay, we need to diagnose what the heck is going on with this computer, because we don't have a clue. So let's just swap it out as best we can, and we'll beat on it at a lab bench until we can figure out what's going on. They even have this really cool thing they call the Mutual Interruption Shield. That's a cool term. Okay. What they're basically talking about is if you separate your organization into two chunks, those that do the rapid response things, then they're going to shield you from the ones that take thinking. Okay. I'm trying to figure this thing out. It's very complicated, and my head's spinning, and I've been working on it for a day. You don't need to be interrupted with, Bob needs his password reset. Dang it. Oh, okay. And so you have to stop what you're doing and go do something else. So they're shielding you, and you are shielding them. So a mutual interruption shield. I kind of like that. The next one is a system advocate on page 921. So talking about, you could look at this from a perspective of, are you a servant for solving their problems? Are you an advocate for solving proactive issues? In other words, are you there to react? Oops, something broke, fix it. Or there to, hey, I think something is gonna break in the future. Let's swap that out now. Right? We've talked about this before about being psychic. The more psychic you are, the better of a system administrator you're going to be. So you end up being have a reputation for solving problems, being helpful. It's like, I understand this printer is jamming an awful lot. Have you guys noticed that? And they go, yeah. I said, why don't I go out and order you another one? And we'll put this into some other location where the humidity and temperatures don't vary that much. We'll move it from the shop floor to some office environment. I bet it'll work better than that. And they go, wow, thank you, because you thought it out, right? Okay, good. So installing software, customers don't really understand the implications. Like, okay, we went and bought this software. Oh, you did? Yeah. Well, this requires a piece on the server for the licensing. How many licenses did you buy? And it was like, what? They don't know. They don't understand. So, if there's a licensing piece that has to go on the server, they don't know that stuff. How about planning with regard to, disk space and interoperability? Like, okay, you didn't get this feature that we need to be able to connect to our Oracle database. Oh, was I supposed to do that? The best way to do it is to obviously come to the IT department, and they'll help you pick out and order the things you need. Or just have the IT department responsible for doing all the ordering. That's another thing. And even so, because they made a mistake, and they got their software package in, wow, all I need is for a system administrator to come in here and install this. I want this done now. The package has showed up in the mail, and you're so excited. Yay! I want to use my toy. I want to use my toy. And so the IT people come and say, well, you ordered the wrong thing. It's going to be a week. They're going to be pissed, and they're probably even going to complain that it took so long to get this thing installed, even though they were the cause of it. Just saying, that's how the world works. Okay. All right. So, System Advocate can help. Users only value what they understand. They don't have, that's a prophetic statement. You basically should interview the customer first and establish a timeline saying, okay, this is going to take about a week to do. And they go, oh, I had no idea. And that way there's no crisscross of expectations, right? I was expecting this thing to be done in an hour. No, it's going to take a week. Well, I didn't know. If you had talked to them ahead of time, you could have done that. Okay. So my PC is slowing down. So a reactive is, okay, fine, I'll start swapping out parts. Okay. A proactive is, let's see if we can figure out what the real problem is here. Because it's just your machine and not anybody else's, or everyone in this section's machine is slowing down, so there's some systemic problem for this. So if we fix it, we're going to fix it everywhere. Again, being proactive, okay? I know I'm kind of talking philosophical here, but one more time, being psychic comes in really handy. Wouldn't it be cool if you were the one that approached them and said, I understand your machine is acting rather slowly. Is that correct? And they go, wow, yeah, we've been having problems in the last 2 weeks. See how this works? Okay. Simple automation. If you're reactive, for example, they showed a story about they had a bunch of new users coming in, but they just waited to the end of the day to run a batch file that created the accounts for all the new users. It was automated, right? They would put a list of names in, but they didn't run it till the end of the day. That is a form of automation, a batch file that does it all, but that's being kind of reactive. The proactive way approach was to automate the whole process so you could do them immediately. Oh, a new person is here, type in their name, hit the button, boom. Account is built, move on. You don't have to wait till the end of the day. Again, reactive, preactive. Okay, on page 926, we're talking about visibility. And oh my goodness, this is important. This visibility paradox thing. Most of the time, people only notice when things break. And if that's the case, the only time they ever call the IT department is because things are broken. Well, they're going to have a strange attitude for the IT folks. They're the fix-it people. They're at my beck and call. They work for me, is what they think. Okay? You got that, right? Things break, I call them, they come fix it. They work for me. Okay. So, you need to break that. You need to be more visible. You need to be talking about the things that you're doing that they're not aware of to show that you have value even while they are not calling you on the phone. That is tough, okay? Explaining to them, hey, we swapped out a server and they didn't know anything about it. They're going to go, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. But yeah, it's kind of important. So it's hard work to produce 100% uptime or someplace near that. And management may think, well, just like this bottom part, we work really hard to maintain this uptime, but because nothing fails, they're not going to perceive you working hard. All they're going to know is, well, hell, we don't need any system administrators at all. Everything works just fine. Okay. So, system status web page. You can have a web page that talks about how things are going. Like, okay, we're going to order a new server next week. It's going to come in, and we're going to have an outage over the weekend, and we're going to do this, that, and the other, and we're going to update this, we're going to update that. Current, past, and future. It's also a place where you could put things like, okay, oops, we had a problem with a virus getting in, and we're going to have to shut down the email server, starting at 1 o'clock, to let them know. Oh, no, come on now, really. Reality? Is this going to stop them calling, saying the email is down? No, it won't. But just saying. You could point them to the web page and go, oh yeah, okay, I'll remember that next time. They won't. Okay. Here's the thing. The perception is, I know we're talking about visibility, but nevertheless, perception is, if they may think you're just taking a nap there in the server room. You don't let them in. You never have a tour of the server room because it's not good security protocol, right? And so as far as they know, you see the system administrator go into the server room and close the door behind them. Hell, they could be taking a nap. How would they know, right? Okay. Management meetings, page 926. Regularly schedule one-on-one with each group. So this is one of those things where you show up at the sales department and say, hey, you guys doing okay? Is there anything you need? And they go, yeah, well, how about this and how about that? Go down to the manufacturing. Hey, I just hear, you guys anything you guys need done? Everything working okay? You need to expand? You need software? And so, again, you're being visible, right? You're showing up at their meetings and spending 5 minutes at their staff meeting saying, how's things going? Is everything doing okay? What can we do for you? Okay? And this helps educate the managers. The managers now go, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't even know that was a possibility that we could be, getting some additional software. But yeah, okay, yeah, we can do that. Physical visibility. Do you have your front desk people? Obviously need to be physically available, right? People could show up at the desk and say, hey, I got a problem. But maybe the real technical support staff ought to be like at the end of the hall where people don't typically wander, right? But yeah. Do you have an open office or a closed door kind of a thing? I have an office, and when I'm in it, my door is always open. There's a lot of reasons for that. But nevertheless, yeah. So only close the door if you're, trying to discipline an employee or hear some sob story. Because once again, if they walk by and they don't see you there, or the door is closed, their perception could be, I don't know where the heck they are. Maybe they're taking a smoke break. Maybe they're taking a nap. See, but if you're visible, they go, oh, okay, they're doing something. I don't know what it is they're doing. Obviously, customer-facing people need to be very visible. And people like programmers who's got their heads to the ground trying to plug out code, that'll be not quite as visible. In fact, you probably want to have them in a quiet area, not where people can wander down the hall. Hey, Bob, how's it going? It's like, oh, man, I'm in the middle of something here. Town hall meetings. So on page 927, they talk about having a meeting for everyone, meeting to all customers, bi-directional. It really ought to start with a conversation about, getting this feedback, like, how's things going? And, is everything okay? And you'll hear a sob story about, well, I had to wait 2 weeks before I could get this, that, and the other. And so you write all this stuff down. Okay, that's cool. It's kind of sort of like a State of the Union address. Here's where we are in the state of the IT. And here's how we're doing things, and and you can talk about Susie had her baby, and everything, right? Not just IT related things, but anything dealing with your staff, and Bob got a promotion, and that kind of stuff. Okay, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark. We'll finish this thing off in just a few more minutes.